Hello, good evening everyone. Well, it's evening now. I don't know what time you'll be listening to this. But the point of having these talks is to keep you in touch with the practice of meditation and to have a series of talks that cover a whole lot of different things that we've been thinking about and you've probably been thinking about, and also ways in dealing with the issues that come up. It's a little bit different, I guess, for meditators because we have a practice of thinking in a particular way over a long period of time. And that kind of makes it easy for us when situations get a little bit more difficult. But I know that is not the case for everyone, and it's not that simple because there's a whole range of circumstances and things that we've got to deal with. But this issue at the moment is a common one. It's kind of sudden, and for people who live in Australia in particular, just talking from my own experience, it's been from one thing to another. It's been from fires back in December, January, and then virtual floods straight after, followed by the coronavirus. So they say things come in threes. Well, this is the third one, so let's see how we go with this. It's affected us a little bit in the sense that we've changed our routine and our activities here. I can't say I'm not as busy as I was before. I certainly am. But it does give us time to reflect, and I think it's given most of you people time to reflect as well, and to just reconsider how you approach things and how you deal with all sorts of situations that arise, not only this sort of extreme situation. So I wanted to talk tonight a little bit about thoughts and the nature of thoughts, how we attract them, how we get affected by them, how to change them. So in all different sort of scenarios really, because when we sit down to meditate in particular, or when you have a quiet time, I suppose also, maybe that period before you go to sleep, there's a lot of time for reflection. And it's really in those moments where you're in a space that you can kind of either be affected by your thoughts or take control of them and redirect them. I know that someone who was very close to me some time ago used to always have their radio playing day and night, and especially at night time, because they said they didn't want to be alone with their thoughts. And that can be the challenging thing. So it takes us a while to get to the point where we understand our own thought processes, what our weaknesses are, what our strengths are, and how and where to put a full stop to a particular line of thinking when we know it's detrimental or it's not going to go somewhere. So the power of meditation is really the thing that is most useful to us. Developing that power, though, is really what the challenge is. And it just means that we need to create situations where we can observe ourselves and where we can manage what it is and how it is that we're thinking about something. So being a sort of we're kind of, in that sense, we're master creators of our own thoughts and our own feelings and our destiny in the longer term as a result of our thinking processes, because everything's linked and we end up somewhere after a period of time. We don't just suddenly find ourselves in a situation, at least from an attitude point of view or from a thinking point of view. Circumstances may come up suddenly, but they have done for all our life, really. There's so many things that were unexpected that happened for us that we had to deal with, and we had to adjust, to either face, to manage, to withdraw, to redirect in some way. We've always had to do something about it, but it seems now, because of the nature of the world, the speed at which things are happening too has a big impact. So adjusting to this change of intensity and of speed of circumstances is something that is really testing us out. One of the things that is useful in this process is, before we do something, before we take on any activity or anything new or any changes, or just generally as we're going along, a good thing to do is to just sit and be quiet and to meditate just for a minute. Sometimes it's just that little bit of extra time where we're facing something consciously that gives us the ability then to, in a sense, muster our thoughts and our mental powers to be able to then go forward and to be confident when we do something. So I think the unknown, uncertainty, is one of the things in our life that can really throw us off balance. Having uncertainty in your life is partly to do with circumstance and, I guess, a routine. You know, if you're put out of your routine and you have to do something that's very different, then there's a bit of anxiety or apprehension that can build up. But generally speaking, people can be apprehensive about things that are just every day. And it's an attitude that we have where we're a little bit cautious or fearful or a bit timid in circumstances where we actually don't need to be. So what I'm suggesting then is to simply spend a few moments before you take on a task, just to focus yourself, just to get the thoughts in line, if you like, or flowing in the right direction. Because momentum can do a lot. You know, if we're thinking about something in a positive way, that can carry us through a situation, and especially where there's not actually any problem or difficulty, but we just have a sense of anxiety about things, and it's that uncertainty. But what can be certain is how you go about doing things, your attitude, your approach towards it. So that can be built up over a period of time, and it's a practice to have. To not start anything before you sit quietly and before you give yourself a positive thought about what it is that you actually want to do. The other thing that the other subject that came to me today, I knew I had to talk about thoughts and about meditation and so on. But I was in a situation where, in the setup of the filming and the videoing that I want to do, I have a device which some of you may know, it's like a stabilizer, and it has attached to it some weights, because the camera has another photographer, by the way, so this is why I'm so occupied with this. The lens attaches to the front of your actual phone via a case, and when you use that lens on this device, it sort of tilts because of the weight of the lens. So you need to balance that, and there's a system that's created, and there's a device that you connect to the phone on the other end to create the balance. And it's amazing how much refinement has to go into that process to create the balance. There's 2 weights, and you can add another 2 weights, which I did, and then it tilts forward, it tilts backward, it tilts sideways, and then there's a panning motion as well. So it was like I had to look at it from all different angles to see whether it was going to work. And when I sat down for meditation, after I'd been through this process, I sat down to meditate, and I was thinking, how similar is it to this process where I look at something in my life, or let's take the mind in this instance, where I need it to be balanced. And that balance means that in all different situations, like the camera, for example, there's different axes. So it had to be balanced in all those different ways to work properly. So it's a bit similar with our minds, that the mind has to be balanced, and it has to be able to work in different situations and go smoothly, because that was the point of setting up this device, was to see that it actually worked smoothly, so that when I walked around with it, it kept an evenness and a smoothness in the action, whatever I was following. So the mind needs to be looked at in the same way, to see whether it can work properly, accurately, and it functions in the right way in different situations. So it occurred to me that, well, really everything is practice in your life. Everything is practice. There may be a final test for you at some point, but up to then, the mind is like a laboratory for us, where we can work away and test things out and see. So in this instance, you can see that being rigid and just fixed in your point of view is not helpful in order to create a balance in your life. If you're strongly thinking only in one way all the time, that can create an imbalance in you. And certainly the result of imbalance is, in the end, it's unhappiness. So it was amazing how quickly I went into meditation with a whole lot of thoughts based on what I was trying to achieve with this device. And I found, okay, now I need to clear my mind. But I used what I did as an example, as a learning process. So, and over a period of maybe 5-10 minutes, I got to the point where I was really appreciating the mental exercise that I was doing in order to clear the thoughts and to look at them, to reflect on them, to think, well, am I putting too much weight here? do I have an attitude that's making me feel a bit heavy or a bit too serious? So I kind of looked at all those things as I was meditating. I didn't simply think that now I have to be quiet, now I have to be peaceful, now I have to be silent, now I have to be still. I kind of thought rather, I have to come out of this in a balanced and a comfortable way. Because after all, meditation is there to make us feel comfortable. And of course there's work to be done in that. It's not hard work, but it is work. It's attention. And it's also a process of self-reflection and examination. And so I never think that, well, I've got half an hour, I just have to be dead silent for half an hour. No. I go through a process where I really examine my thoughts and just check how much I can guide them. Where can I put more weight? What thought should I forget? What thought should I increase? Should I be more focused? Should I be light? So it's a process of all the time looking at the self. So, and when I achieve that level of balance, then my functionality is also quite high. I don't waste time thinking about things that I don't need to think about. They don't occur to me actually anymore. So the balancing process means that it's also a work in progress, so that you're adjusting to things that happen as they're happening, and you're thinking, okay, I have to come out of this with an even temperament and an even and balanced state of mind. So thanks for coming, thanks for listening. I hope these discussions, one-way discussions though they are, will be useful for you and will generate some other beneficial thoughts as well. Thanks.